Whoa, what's going on, everybody? Another episode of Dr. Homebrew already? Jeez, look at the time, man. Time just flies. We're halfway through 2024 already, it feels like, even though it's
Yeah.
only January 31st. And
All downhill from here.
yeah, we're going downhill from here, everybody. There is no homebrew. I got some good news and bad news. The bad news is there's no homebrew today on the show, but the good news is we have a couple of really rad beers to talk about. I went to, there's a long form version of this conversation, which I can get to if you need to, but let's just jump to the end where I went to the Asian market near us the other day, and I was buying mushrooms of all things. And I'm like, okay, everywhere I'm at, every market, every little bodega, every place that has beer, you always got to walk by and see what's going on. What kind of stuff do they sell? I'm interested to see not even the buying patterns of the general public, because I think for the most part the general beer public is stupid, and they're just going to buy. They're going to see whatever's on the shelf, and they're going to think that that's all that there is, and so they have a choice from there. So I don't really consider what's on display as like what's popular. It just means whatever the distributor can get in, and the beer buyer at the place doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, and whatever, right? So anyway, I run through those, and I was at the Asian market, and I was like, I saw this beer, and it said Schwartz on it, and I was like, what the fuck? And it had a bunch of like Japanese, I don't know, kanji, I guess, or whatever. So I pick it up. It's Baeren, Baeren. And I pick it up and I bring it home and I wait a couple days and I crack it. And this thing was fucking good. It was like a very, very, very good, to me, version of a Schwarzbier. Like you can't get better than this. And it's imported from Japan, like brewed in Japan, right? And so the fact that it traveled all the way over here doesn't taste like absolute dick.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with it. So I went back and I got some more. I got a bottle of that and a bottle of their classic, which apparently is like a Dortmunder Export or whatever. Although it says none of that on the bottle. I had to like look it up on on their website. But I wanted to put the bottles in front of you guys too, and I wanted to get your feedback on it because you examine these styles professionally, basically. I just drink them and go, that's cool, man. Where's there more? Where's another one? But I'm interested to know the Japanese take on German styles. We've had some like a lot of Japanese beers I've had are like wheat beers or that kind of German style, but they do their own twist on things, right? But this to me is very classic, very traditional, very, nailing it. So I wanted to throw these guys in front of you and we should talk about them. That's our first seggy. What do you think? You guys excited for that?
I'm very excited. And
Do we have another choice?
No, you don't.
Okay.
And I got to ask you, do you know what the country code for Japan is? The 2-letter country code?
If it's not 69, I'll be pissed.
JP.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay. I thought you meant, yeah. Of course it is.
It's the 2-letter country goes JP, man. So it's appropriate that you found these beers and brought them to us to drink for the show.
I'm excited. Should we do the classic first?
I think that would make sense.
Okay, let's open the classic first. Here's the classic. And they're in like kind of stubby bottles. They're really cute. They almost look like Duval bottles, or whether it's a German brewery that uses, or Belgian brewery that uses these kind of like flared, almost like uncircumcised bottles.
These are like the ones, like those little one, like was it Guldendrach or some of those, the Belgians come in. And I got my space thing going. I could maybe take the space thing off, but no, fuck it. Brian and I are both in different places in orbit here. But yeah, it's those little Guldendrach bottles like you would get at like, I don't know, Pier whatever, what are they, that store that always had like beer from around the world.
Yeah, Cost Plus.
Yes, Cost Plus, World Market. I like, this is really clean. It's got a lot of flavor. I'm impressed.
Let me read the description of this beer. Dortmund is the city. This is the classic. Dortmund is the city that boasts the largest beer production in Germany. A beer with high extract content that used to be brewed in Dortmund for export and was therefore labeled simply as export. Gained enormous popularity. Baeren's Classic inherits its style. This lager, with a distinctive character and solid taste, offers a splendid balance of bitterness and rich flavor. Normally, I would be like, I don't know if I want to drink a Dortmunder Export from some other country, you know, other than Germany, that has to be fresh. Like I
Right.
would just be super
I wouldn't trust it.
aware of it. Yeah. And you know, and again, it goes back to sort of like the beer on the shelf, right? I don't know how long this beer has been sitting on this shelf. That's the main, that, you know, the travel time is the travel time. You can't do anything about that. If you want to experience new beers, you have to step out of that and allow for some variance in that way. But if it's sitting in the, you know, cooler or whatever for 2 months, 5 months, 8 months, a year, who knows? There's no way to know. That's where I have a problem with it. And there's, like, you know, dates. But I don't know. I don't read Japanese, so I couldn't tell you.
It was brewed in September.
That's what I think it is, right? It's
bottled in September, and it's best through August of this year.
Yeah.
Both of them.
So I'm right. I think that this is supposed to be a Dortmunder Export. Dortmunder Export. What's the style?
It's the style is 5C German Helles Export beer, and that is the light. Helles just means light, and they call it export beer. They don't. Yeah, it's know, also known as Dortmunder, but developed in Dortmund, and like they said, it became really popular after World War II. Declined after, you know, in the 1970s, but it's getting, you know, have had a little resurgence since then with craft beer and people being more knowledgeable about world beer styles. So it's always kind of been there. And, you know, you always see anything with a German, you know, brand and export beer is going to be along these lines. But yeah, this smells really wonderful. I haven't even taken a sip of it yet, but it's floral and a little perfumey, little spice, but you get a nice little a toasty, you know, grainy malt in there, a little bready.
Yeah, I get a little minerality to it, like a Dortmunder is supposed to have, but it's not overly mineral, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You know, it's I've pulled up Baeren Brewery on Google Maps, and it's just this little kind of weird looking brick building, but they've got a copper kettle, a big ass copper kettle. Well, big, it looks like they can probably brew about, I'm guessing, like a 5-barrel system. But one of these pictures, they've got bags, just big sacks of crisp floor malted malt.
Oh, nice.
So lager malt, crisp floor malted lager. You know, they're getting good ingredients, and they're brewing well here. And I'm not going to get too distracted about their pictures. I'm going to stop doing that.
Too late.
But yeah, exactly.
Copper is so traditional too. The brewers, they want.
But yeah, they're using good ingredients, and they have a fascinating, a big old copper kettle. You know, they're making small batches here, but it's clear from just drinking this, you know, for a random find at the grocery store, this is really interesting.
Isn't
you know,
it?
The color's right for a Dortmunder too. You know, it's a little darker than a Pilsner or a Helles, but it's not dark. I'd say it's like light gold, medium gold.
Yeah, I think the color's right. You know, what is it like, the style wise? Like, how would you, you know, let's do a quick rundown of it, because I'm just very curious, infinitely curious about this beer and this brewery and how they're doing and how this beer would hold up in a competition all the way from Japan.
Yeah. Well, judging, you know, the thing that you notice the most is the bitterness and the hops, and also that minerality that's letting the hops really play off of that. But alongside that, a little more, you know, interesting, characterful malt, a little toasty malt. So it's not playing like a German Pils with just the Pils, and you know, fairly hoppy, but without, you know, without as much of the sulfates and carbonates and chlorides in the water as you get into Dort. This one really is playing like German Helles export beer. It works in that territory.
Okay. Is it too bitter? I mean, it tastes kind of sharp in that regard.
Yeah,
too much,
it should be fairly. Okay. It can have a fair amount of bitterness for sure. and this is probably on the bitter end even for style, but I don't think it's outside of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's it's got a firm bitterness. We talked about that in the previous show. I'd say it's a firm bitterness. I don't know that it's out of style. It's probably I would say it's maybe toward the upper end of style. But I mean, to me, it's not. It doesn't seem excessive.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's just there enough to sort of notice.
Yeah, exactly.
I love their website. Their website is rad. They have like a whole, you can call it like a mission statement. Baeren's hope. We think that the number of the people who completely understand the broad sense of beer world is not so large in Japan because the image and Japanese sense for drinking beer is like, quote, I get a beer for the present, or beer just to make toast. We strongly respect the European traditional way of beer brewing and handcraft beer with 100-year-old and historic equipment imported from Germany. We hope Baeren Beer to be always beside your days with its clear but opulent and full-bodied, rich aftertaste. We, Baeren Brewery, hope that all of you and your tables become happy with our Baeren Beer, which is full of lush and wealthy flavor.
I love Japan
I love that.
so
It's
much.
so good, dude. Yeah,
I
it's so
love
good.
Japanese English. It's just the best.
Yeah. So it's good beer, right? This is would you buy this again? Tasting this now, would you go back and would you like get another
It's
bottle?
very clean, and like with the resurgence of craft lagers after IPAs took over and everything else, craft lagers really coming more into vogue in the last several years, and people really paying attention to the right way of brewing. There's those craft breweries that people get that the German equipment and do decoctions and do go study in Germany and take the the classes over there, learn from the brewmasters there, and bring it back to a craft brewery wherever, Japan, Emeryville, wherever they might land. And
why
well,
Emeryville?
Wondrous is doing a good job on their lagers.
Okay.
And it's like that. The guy went to Germany, learned the shit the right way, does it the right way in his brewery, makes fantastic lagers. It's really good craft beer that you want to drink. And it tastes, a lot like what you get when you're in Germany.
Yeah, I mean, and if I had to pick nits a little bit, it does taste a little heat, a little raisiny, I think it's a little heat damaged, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, and I'm sure if we were in Japan tasting this at the brew house, it would be a different experience.
Yeah, I would love that so much, man.
But yeah, you could tell that what it was when it was packaged was pretty right, and it's not too damaged by the travel, but you can taste a little, travel on it. It gets that little rougher edge sometimes with a lager that has a substantial amount of hops in it. They just get a little harsher as you go, and it's hard to avoid oxygen. It's not going papery or cardboardy or anything, but
yeah. And again, I can't imagine that especially in so this place is, I forget the name of the market, but it's in Pittsburgh out here.
And probably just kept on the shelves. And
it's kept in the back for who knows how long until one person buys it and then they just replace. So I can't imagine there's not like a big craft beer loving movement out here, and I don't know how like the Asian culture around here is attacking the craft market. Maybe they're not interested in this. Maybe they're more into other just generalized lagers. I don't know. So I don't know how quickly the stuff moves. But if it's only brewed in September, I think it's pretty decent. Yeah. It's not bad. Yeah. So
you're finding IPAs, local IPAs on the shelf that have traveled 10 miles to your supermarket and
that taste worse than this.
10, 12 months old, and they've been abused worse.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Exactly.
What's interesting to me is like the Japan, picks this German, to a lot of people, an obscure style, right? Like a Dortmunder Export.
Dude, absolutely.
But it's funny, Japan and Korea really have, and I'll make the story short. They often have this idea that only the Germans make the best beer. And I'll tell you that this is like so many years ago. It's not like I'm telling anything confidential. I had a good friend that was a home brewer for a long time, first person I ever knew who brewed beer. He showed me hops in a brown paper bag once, like a whole cone hops, like 1989. And I'm like, dude, why are you showing me your weed? That's how long ago this was. He ended up pro brewing for a while in Arizona, and he interviewed for a job in Seoul at a Gordon Biersch that was supposed to open there in like the early to mid 90s, I say mid 90s. Otherwise, it's 30 years ago. I'm not going to embarrass anybody.
Yeah.
And he was in the top 2 or 3, and he thought he was going to get it. He spoke some Korean. He was all excited, and then they told him, "No, we hired a German because the Germans make the best beer." So that was heartbreaking. He was just heartbroken, and he ended up moving to Seoul, and he's lived there doing some other stuff for now like 25 years. Big old white dude from Iowa.
Probably better off, honestly.
No, he loves it there. He's never coming back.
Yeah.
But it's funny because it's the stereotypes that people have. It's not just in Japan or Korea, it's everywhere in the world about like, oh, good beer comes from X, right?
Well,
so
it's marketing.
Yeah,
It's
well,
brand
exactly.
marketing. That's exactly that's all it is. Yeah. Germany is a brand in certain circles, depending on.
They have Oktoberfest. They have they have Spaten.
Pornography or soccer or beer. There's a brand for it, and they rank on the scale.
I really prefer poop to stay out of my pornography, but that's. But I like the beer. What can I say?
Yeah, that's all you can say, man.
Mom, you tell me if you were in a German Scheisse video, right?
Okay, let's do the Schwarzbier. Let's open this one. So this is the one, honestly, I don't want to say blew me away and not mean it, but like it was very surprised. Hopefully this next bottle, which is brewed again in September, hopefully this is from the same, has the same quality in it. Because
do they have a customer service link on their website? Like, could we email them and say, excuse me, can you ask your brewer if he follows the Reinheitsgebot? We just want to know.
You know what? I'm sure they do have a contact.
Let's do it.
It would be nice to get them on the show. Just, I don't know, man. Maybe they would. Mainly because they have so many other beers. So they sell a lot of their sample packs through Amazon, but in Japan. I'm like, oh man, I would buy this. So it's on their website. Schwarz used to be drunk mainly in the former East Germany. It was introduced to the world after the reunification of Germany, and now its popularity is on the rise. This dark beer, despite its color, has a smooth texture and crisp finish, making it easy to drink.
Yeah. Das ist ein Schwarzbier.
I mean, it almost tastes like lactosey. It's very smooth. There's a little. It's very, very smooth. There's a little bit of like roasty at the end, but not a lot. Maybe too much for the style. I don't know, but it comes off more like pale chocolate malt, like a chocolate malt. So I'm okay with it because it's that.
Yeah, it's not burnt. It's just that like lightly soft, ashy, chocolatey edge.
Yeah, it's the slightest,
not really even
hint of roast.
Just
slightest roast hint. I agree that it is like maybe a chocolate malt, kind of just that finish of a chocolate malt. It's not a pale chocolate, but a chocolate malt.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, we always talk about pale chocolate, and pale chocolate is not going to have any roast character, but there is a chocolate malt that I love for stouts, and this, the finish on this is reminiscent of that in a way.
It's got the roast flavor, but not the burnt flavor. So it seems like they likely know what they're doing and use a huskless malt in this.
Oh, 100%. You don't make a beer like this and it just
like, let's just throw some chocolate
dumb
malt
luck.
in there.
Yeah, no, this is some very high quality beer.
Yeah.
So how does this compare with the style? You want to do the same thing with the other one?
Well, yeah, I like it when the roast malt character is a little lighter myself, but it is not it's not burnt or
I would agree with
harsh.
You. Yes, I think it's like
it's very, very dark. They made it. It's very deep brown. You can see through it at the corners. It's actually very clear.
It's like a black IPA, right? Where the style is fine, but the best styles of black IPA are like no roast or just a little tiny bit at the end. And like Back in Black, we always talk about 2 and A's Back in Black is like that's the better black IPA I've ever had, right? And it's the same kind of thing with this. I prefer it with none in there, but this little tiny bit just lets you know that it's there. It's almost like a little bit of signature kind of. I'm okay with it. I'm okay
And
with
on
it.
the first sip, it's more noticeable. As you
Yeah.
keep going, it doesn't bite as hard. So yeah.
And that aroma is so. It's like the mash. It's so grainy in a good way. It's very like the essence of the mash.
It's very clean, yeah.
Yeah.
And a very, very dry finish.
Very
So
dry
yeah.
finish. Too dry?
No,
Would you want a little less?
no, it should be dry. And yeah, it's fine. The sweetness isn't going to be right in this beer. It should be dry and that, if it's the drier it is, probably the more of that the bitterness from the dark malts that you get, and it's gonna linger a little bit more. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a Schwarzbier. This is a hard style to make to do right, I think. And Americans tend to want to make it roasty, and a roasty Schwarzbier is way out of style. I think having that little bit at the end, especially for a Japanese version, is okay. Just like you're saying for Back in Black, one of the only black IPAs I really enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know how I love IPAs. I will buy a Back in Black. Yeah.
Yes.
If I see it and I feel like that's what I want to drink, I won't do that with another IPA. Just won't happen. This is a 5.5%, by the way. And
Yeah.
the other one was 6.
These are both really cleanly lagered. It seems they definitely know what they're doing from a lager perspective.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're getting these nice clean lagers there. It would be really fun to taste there and just get it fresh from the source, because they're doing it right. I wonder what people over there think of it. And obviously it's made it out into the world and traveled to some of the markets here.
So these are both all year round beers. And then
Mhm.
everything else in their lineup, well, then they have regular canned beers all year round. They have a Pilsner, something called Innovation Red Lager, and a Lemon Radler.
Yeah.
So those are all year round. So these are 5 styles. They're very German. I mean, the red lager, it's a German style red lager with the use of Japanese high quality water. Well, I mean, I would hope. No additive or coloring contained. You can feel the rich malty taste. Yeah, yes, absolutely right, brother. But those are really very, very different styles that what I would consider the Japanese craft beer market to be into. You know what I mean? And I don't for no reason. I don't know why.
I have not been able to explore the breadth of beers brewed in Japan, but there are a lot, and you hear when you talk to people that have come back from there's you see a few of them here and there, and you get to taste them here, and sometimes they're not quite as, what you might hope for. But the Japan is actually even mentioned in the Schwarzbier guidelines. It's a regional specialty from Thuringia, Saxony, and Franconia in Germany, served as the inspiration for black lagers brewed in Japan. Popularity grew after German reunification in 1990. So, like what they said on their marketing, it became popular after reunification and ventured out into other parts of the world. And
what would you give this? This is my beer, my Schwarzbier. What would you give this? Not if it was me, but I love it so much. It's my mascot now.
Yeah.
What would you give if you were at GABF?
It's definitely high 30s. It's cleanly lagered. It's got everything you want. I would say back off on the roasty edge, and if it was fresher, it'd probably be up into the 40s, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. There is a little bit of damage you can taste through it, but everything else is so good. It's like 60, 80%, sort of like I can overlook a lot.
Yeah.
I think that the classic, even though it's a little stronger, it maybe suffered more over the same amount of time. But whereas the Schwartz, it has enough, it's interesting there, and there's nothing wrong with it. The packaging is good, that kept oxygen out, and it's well done. So it's holding up just a little bit better.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree.
the Dort might be more like a mid to upper 30s kind of range, and this
Okay.
one's definitely upper 30s as it is.
Cool.
Easily could get to 40s with tasting it fresher, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, I appreciate that, guys. I really wanted to share these with you and to then sort of make content out of it.
It was
Because
surprising.
it's
Yeah,
neat,
no,
man. Yeah.
it really surprised. Like what the I saw these in my fridge. They popped in there. I was off doing something and I'm like, what is this Baeren stuff? Japanese writing? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what's JP on to now? Who knows? But
Nobody knows, man. And here's the thing. They're $4 for these.
Wow.
They're
Wow.
$4. Yeah. So everything at the fucking Asian market is cheaper than shit. So it's like,
Yeah.
excellent. But yeah, beer outstanding. And I'm on their website, and they make an alt beer.
Yeah,
like a Weizen.
Rogan beer. I'm looking at the same thing. It's crazy.
Maibach, a winter warmer. It looks like they do another Radler chocolate stout, milk chocolate stout, an Uzu Wit, another Radler with grapes on the Pacific, the Noda Village on the Pacific, apple lager. I would drink that. A summer hopped lager, Italian Pilsner, of course, citrus lager. They do ciders. They do an Uzu cider. Jesus Christ, dude. I'm
going to Japan next fall, or like a year and a half from now.
Go here.
And when I go, I need to get like a box and ship like a box or two of beer back to us.
Yeah.
For the show or whatever, or just some cans and throw them in my suitcase or whatever. And I'll bring back some Japanese beers, and planning ahead for like late 2025, we'll do some shows.
Yeah.
I will look forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We're still in the air. Who knows? Who knows, man?
We'll also do an ears up about like Shanghai Disneyland and Tokyo Disneyland, but that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, go to earsuppodcast.com. Please, for the love of God. Okay, let's take a quick break. I have another beer to try, and then some bullshit to talk about. So hang on, everyone. It's Dr. Homebrew. We'll be right back. All right, thanks for hanging on, everybody. Okay, we have in our possession a can of beer, and you guys know I've been trying to focus on these non-alcoholic beers that are coming out into the market lately. It seems like everywhere you turn, there's a new non-alcoholic beer. For the most part, I like them. Fundamentally, I like what they stand for. Sobriety, I guess. I don't know. I like the fact that they're trying to essentially expand craft beer into people who don't necessarily want to consume alcohol at the time. And I think it's a really cool thing. So I think non-alcoholic beers, non-alcoholic craft beers are sort of a positive movement. And I try every one I can get. That being said, most of them suck. Most of them are awful. And I wanted to get you guys' opinions on this. I'm not going to say anything about it, but this is from a brewery called Groovy, which is GRU with an umlaut, VI. And it's a mocha nitro stout.
I'm going to follow the directions.
Okay, tell me what they are, please.
Which say, shake can hard.
Oh.
Harder than you think.
Okay.
And open.
I did not follow those directions.
I don't know if this is a joke, but
harder than you think.
So this is a nitro beer.
Yeah. So let's see.
It shouldn't explode on us. It's not CO2. So we're shaking the can.
I mean, there it goes.
Hello.
Yep.
And but then you turn it a second direction, turn can completely upside down and pour for best results.
Oh, well, I didn't do that.
So, step 2, get a glass, JP.
Yeah, well, I didn't do that either. Look, I'm a direction follower. You didn't read me all the directions. It's your fault. Come over and clean this up.
Okay, here, I just spilled on my keyboard. Here we go. Cans upside down. I'm just going to fill this, but okay.
But like all
ruining my keyboard for this episode.
Yeah. Well, look, when you taste the beer, you're really going to be pissed off.
Thanks, JP.
Oh, man. I love non-alcoholic beer in spirit, but it is so hard to do. It is so hard to find a good one. Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Good. We'll keep yammering on here. Shar, where's yours? You got one yet?
I poured mine in my kitchen. I did not follow directions or bring the can out here. I just poured it and I'm drinking it. Right, I'm drinking it right now.
What do you think?
Let me give first my pros. I love that it comes across well attenuated. It's not cloying or sweet, and that's a problem that a lot of non-alcoholic beer has. That it comes across kind of under attenuated, worty, just not great. So I love that it's not worty or sweet.
Right. I agree.
It's not very carbonated. You can tell. You open up that can, and it's a big hiss, but it's like all the nitrogen comes right out. There's no widget in there that I can tell, like Guinness or something might have. So I think they can it with a lot of nitrogen, and you pop that top, and you get all the nitrogen rushes out, and I think you get a little bit of that head, but the head goes away real fast. It's not super hoppy. There is a lot of roast to it. There's definitely some mocha character. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I prefer Guinness 0.0 for an NA stout.
Yeah, I would agree.
But
I
I
would agree
like
with you.
but I like the fact that it's credibly a beer-like beverage that probably gets within like 80-90% of what beer should be without having alcohol. So in general, you kind of sounded dismissive of it, but I think it's pretty decent.
Okay. Very good. Cooper, how's it going over there, man? Your keyboard? Can
Yeah,
you still be a keyboard warrior tomorrow?
I think so.
All right.
Yeah, I need to replace the batteries, but that's not because of the dumping.
Yeah,
So yeah,
there
there's
you
something
go.
a little sharp in the nose that's bugging me a little bit about the beer. It doesn't smell like it's going to be a sweet, warm, like mocha stout. All you get a little roast, and that's about it. I'm not
Okay.
getting a lot of chocolate in the nose. But yeah, it didn't pour with a very big head, even despite all my efforts to shake the hell out of it and dump it upside
You
down.
shook it harder than you thought.
Almost ruined my keyboard. I really did, and I opened it here with reckless abandon, and it wasn't
Yeah.
because of that it spilled. It was just sloppy pouring. I didn't have a big enough glass. It's pouring it into like a goblet here. That's not. But anyway, it didn't throw up too massive of a head, and it doesn't have a widget in the can, which might help its case. But if this was, served on draft with a proper nitrogen system, you could get that cascading nitrogenous, like rich, smooth, velvety finish with those fine bubbles. There are some fine bubbles here on the very top. It's not, the head didn't just immediately dissipate like some NA beers will. Like the NA IPA I just drank, that rarely ever forms a head, and if it does, it goes away in 10 seconds. This one still has a little something crispy on the top and a little bit on the collar around the glass. So
yeah, from all angles, it looks
I
like a
agree with
normal
Brian.
beer.
It's not horrible, but it's not something that I would want to drink a lot of. I like it better than some
Yeah.
brands of NA,
Yes.
but less than others.
Because a lot of NA beers will come off as wort like.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this doesn't have that. But on their website,
No.
they say groovy beers are brewed. By the way, this is a brewery out of Denver. And from what I can tell, they're not just like a brand. They actually have like a facility. So that's cool. It's different already. Groovy beers are brewed using a process called arrested fermentation. It's this second part that bugs me, which stops the brewing process before alcohol is produced. And I don't know what that means. Can you guys figure that out? Because this doesn't mean anything. It's not, it stops the brewing process. Like, so I'm doing some work for Jamil. I went back to their very first Q&A episode with Bamforth, like November 2009 or something like that. And Bamforth is talking about non-alcoholic beers, and he goes, "There's basically two ways to do it. Either you don't, and this is before like enzymes and before like White Lab sets that yeast out and whatever. Obviously, right? This is almost 20 years ago. No, anyway, whatever. You do the math. And he's like, basically, there's two ways to do it. One, you just don't brew, you don't add yeast. It's just wort.
Mhm.
And those can taste like wort, and you sterilize it or whatever, so nothing grows, and it just kind of like is what it is and whatever. And the other is to under pressure drive off the alcohol, but that usually kind of fucks with the flavors. Because you push off a lot of those flavors. Fermentation will create different flavors, different mouthfeel even too in that beer. So you sort of need a fermentation process to take place in order to get it to even feel like a beer in your mouth. And I was thought maybe like a blend of those two would be good. But anyway, yeah, I don't know what that means. Stopping the brewing process before alcohol is produced. I mean, what do they pitch yeast and then just like
Well, the
crash
legal
it? I don't know.
definition
2 seconds
is
later, they kill it. Yeah.
right?
0.5%. So they
Yeah.
stop it when it gets to 0.4 something.
Mm.
My guess would
think that's
be
what it
that
is.
they've got there's a lot of like roast type flavors in here. And if you have a lot of the flavors and you have maybe not a ton of base malt and you stop your process at 0.5, which is the threshold for NA, maybe that's what they mean. Maybe they can ferment out like 0.5% of something from dark malt. And I know I'm thinking on the fly here about what
Yeah.
you would do.
I don't know either. I
Well,
mean,
no, what they do is they have low attenuating yeast strains that are maltose negative or maltotriose negative or both. And they only attenuate down a certain amount. So you start with a fairly low gravity, then you go to a slightly lower gravity that
Mhm.
makes a little bit of alcohol. It goes through a fermentation, but only ferments those odd sugars that are, the simplest sugars and not the maltose or,
okay.
more complex sugars that regular yeast can go through and lives on, and that's their mainstay, and that's what, mainly is in a wort. So they get it up to that 0.3, 0.4, whatever it ends up at,
Okay.
where it's fermenting out. It's going to taste more like a regular beer. And it doesn't have that wordy thing. Are they
Yeah,
ever going to taste
a little
exactly
bit.
like,
No.
a regular beer? No, but are there pros and cons of the ones that just remove the alcohol too? Yeah, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes those will come across as being watery or, too light or too, I don't know, but
I
yeah,
think with those, like if you're gonna do that, you need to manipulate the recipe to cover for that or counter those acts.
yeah.
No.
No matter what they do, they're always going to have to play with the recipe to make it work and play like a beer,
Yeah, but you're right. It's never going to be. It's like tofurkey. It's like are you gonna be able to fool anybody that mushrooms or tofu is really chicken or whatever? No. But if you don't think about it too hard and you accept the fact that it's never going to be the same, it is
It's
what it is.
protein.
Later on, they
Yeah.
say the ingredients are all the same, but the alcohol is not.
Hmm.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Our brewing process still utilizes malted grain, hops, and a form of fermentation.
Ah.
What the fuck does that mean? What is a form of fermentation? I want to know.
I think that's just creative marketing to say that they don't
Yeah.
ferment it all the way. It's a
Okay.
form of fermentation that doesn't ferment all the way to over 5.5%.
Okay. All right. That's fair. I'll stop picking on it. Yeah. I don't know. I tasted it. I was like, I mean, for me, this doesn't taste too wordy, but it does taste a little cardboard. And I don't know if that's just the process. I'm sure it's a fine beer, but it's not one that I would like actively go, man, I really want a beer, but I don't want the alcohol. I'm going to have this because there are some flavors in there that I'm not really hip on. I don't really, I'd rather have a Heineken 00 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But even those, which I really love, even those have their off things too. So it is just sort of,
Well, the Heineken and the
it is what it
Guinness,
is.
they're 0.0. Somehow they just completely brew their beer and remove the alcohol, or or osmosis it out of there, or something or other.
Yeah,
I think some of them, it's like a filtration
I
process
think
that
so
just
too.
selectively removes the alcohol, and that's all
Yeah.
it does, without adding oxygen, without having to heat it up or boil it, or distill out the alcohol, which is just gonna destroy some of the flavors that you have there. After you brew a beer
Yeah.
and finish it, you should keep it cold. And yeah, I think those really special and expensive filtration methods of doing it. I'm not as familiar as I should be with all the different ways of doing it, but
Well, there's no
yeah, like you
reason for
said,
you to
there's a
like
number of different
know
ones.
how Heineken, removes
They're
alcohol.
not
Like,
going to
there's no
tell
reason
us.
for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I
Yeah.
mean, like you're right. It's some level of fermentation or filtration, probably with some pressurizing where the alcohol gets driven off, and
Yeah.
it's like it's just some combination
But
of that
for
with enzymes and shit like
Yeah.
that.
for breweries that don't have all of that specialized equipment and the brand backing that Guinness or Heineken have, and are still trying to make something that tastes like a beer and is enjoyable. And how fresh is this? I don't know. Is there a date on the can?
No.
This one says 2807 to 24. So I imagine that's best
25,
before, the 28th of July. So it's within its date, and that's fine. It gives itself at least half a year from now if it was just immediately put out. So it's probably, but it's
Yeah.
been probably on the shelf for several months already, I would guess too. But
Yeah, and what's the shelf life for non-alcoholic beers? I wonder, do they put it out at 9 months, 8 months, or whatever? Like the Japanese beers, they don't, because in general you can assume a 6 month, but theirs is
Yeah.
almost a year. It says a drink before 08
yeah,
24, but it's brewed 09 23. Who knows? Who knows how old it is? Could be 6 months old by
Yeah.
now.
it probably is. That's pretty common, close to a year.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
it's-
Yeah, I don't know. I do like these little seggies. I like finding little stuff in the wild and bringing them,
Yeah.
dragging them, kicking and screaming into this show because maybe someone else is looking for it, or I think it's a cool part of the industry, and I
I'm
want
going
to
back to
embrace
this
it
the Schwarzbier.
too, brother.
That's so
Yeah.
good.
Like,
Yeah.
no offense to Groovy and whatever, and I really appreciate the thing they're doing. They have a lot of product line. So if you're looking for other stuff like wine and shit like that, check it out. It is an interesting beer. Buy some, take it to your homebrew club, pass it around, take it to your tasting groups or whatever, and check it out because the Mocha Nitro Stout. That's why I got it, right? Because it's not just like, oh, here's a fucking stout, but they're trying
Sounds
to put
like-
other flavors on it, try to put a spin on it to try to make it a little more beer-like, and I think we need to be encouraging that a lot as consumers.
Yeah, and I mean the pandemic hit us, and people started drinking a little more than they should, but there's been a more of a movement over the last few years towards just responsible, thoughtful, mindful drinking, knowing what,
Yes.
controlling it, knowing what you're putting in your body. Okay, I'm going to have this 6% alcohol beer, and I'm just going to have the one, and that's what I'm doing. And I'll start out with an NA, and a lot of people have shifted their drinking habits. Others haven't, and they're fine. Other people just don't. It's everybody has. If you know
I
what
tell
you're
you.
putting into your body and why you're doing it, and you're in control of that, that's fine.
That's fine.
If it's a social thing and you're enjoying yourself and not getting out of control, not driving after having too many beers to the
Well,
point
not driving
where
too far. I mean,
Yeah.
anything within town is
too
probably okay.
far.
But I mean, you can only see double for so long, and then you're home, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There seems to be a lot more articles coming out about what alcohol actually does to your brain and your body over time. And it always makes me think, like, I've probably been drinking most nights a week since I've been 21 or whatever,
Yeah.
and with very few long exceptions. And I'm realizing that I'm doing it because it's there. Like, I like the taste of beer. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoy it. But for the most part, and I mean, maybe 60%, 50% is because, like, I have a good beer in there, and man, I bet that would taste good. Not because I want to taste a beer or want to drink a beer or I feel like a beer. It's just, it exists, so I'm going to do it. and that's not good. So I'm really trying to, like before this, I hadn't had a beer since, I don't know, Friday. I did a show for Ears Up, our Patreon only. Go to patreon.com/ears up and help me pay my bills. But that's the last time I drank a beer or had anything.
Yeah.
Now today's Wednesday, so was it what, 5 days ago?
You beat me by a
I
day.
feel fine about it.
I
I feel fine about it. Like I'm not doing it for any reason or whatever. It's just like I don't feel like it, and that's okay for me. I can be me. It's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, I don't do the TikTok thing, but I guess the one thing that has become somebody on TikTok popularized is instead of doing a dry January, just do 1 week no booze, like in the month, and you can choose whatever week it is, and then choose in February I'm gonna not drink this week, and and
here's what my therapist would say. She would say, check in with yourself. Ask yourself, do I really want a beer? If I do, why? Do I really want it, or it's because it exists? Okay, and then make that decision there. Because you make that decision, like you just said, basically, it's like, as long as you're making the decision because of a valid reason, not because of social pressures or because you're bored, then that's okay, as long as you accept that. That's my therapist. Let's take a quick break, everyone. We're going to take our last break. We're going to come back. We're going to wrap up this weird fucking show. So hang tight. It's Dr. Homebrew. We'll be right back. All right. Sick. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. If you've made it this far, you're a fucking champ, dude, and I appreciate you very much. Also, if you're in Japan, Baeren, B-A-R-B-E, fucking motherfucker, B-A-E-R-E-N.
Also known as the plural for bears in Germany. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hi.
Baeren.
Hi.
Yeah, actually, speaking of Japan, Barry from our last show, he said he was going to Japan this year, I think. So I'm gonna make him go see if he can go here, or find their beers or whatever. This is.
I wonder if they have NA
stuff
there. Yeah, they must.
Man. I mean, they have. I would guess. I don't know. I think drinking's too much of a cultural thing there, but I don't know. Actually, I don't know. I'm assuming. I'm being stereotypical for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good beers.
What happened?
Well, here's the other thing about what I was saying earlier. If you don't drink for 1 week, per month, over the course of the year, it adds up to 3 months that you're not drinking.
Mm.
And then if you add days to that, like okay, I don't drink every night. I'll take a couple of nights off a week or 3 nights off or whatever it might be. That adds up to even more, like another couple months on top of that or so.
Yeah.
And it's like, and if you total it up, it's like almost half the year with not drinking, and that's
giving
for your
body
health
a break.
and everything else. That's substantial.
Yeah, Doc would go. I remember Doc would go a month. He would try it 30 days, just randomly, or 6 weeks or whatever, just to do a cleanse. But he needed it because he would be like an every night, guy, and he'd get fucking wasted because he was brewing Belgian triples and shit like that. And he's just like drink 4 or 5. And it's like, oh man, I don't know. I want to have my cognitive function, like I'm working on my body, I'm working my fitness, right? And like trying to be able to be mobile when I'm 80. And I also want to be like aware of what's going on when I'm at that age as well. You know what I mean? So
that would be nice.
That's my thing. I don't know. That's just
me. Yeah, and weight wise too. If you can lose like 3 or 4 pounds without thinking about it, if you can take a couple weeks off drinking and just eat kind of the same.
For sure, absolutely.
A lot of calories.
I went to Sprouts, which I don't know if you have a Sprouts where you guys are, but it's like Trader Joe's, it's like
Whole Foods.
Yeah, it's like Whole Foods, but scaled down to a reasonable thing, but it's still kind of expensive.
Went to that one in Brentwood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's I'm going there looking for mushrooms. Speaking of fucking TikTok, I found this dickhead online who he's like doing meatless. He's like doing like vegan meals or meatless meals, and he's replacing meat with mushrooms, like lion's mane or king oyster mushrooms or whatever. And like king oyster mushrooms, you like take a fork and you shred them up like lengthwise, and you put like carnitas seasoning on them. And you crisp them up pretty crispy, and you put them on tacos, and you don't fucking ever know. You'll never know. And they're super healthy for you. Anyway, so I'm going there looking for that shit. And they have like a little kiosk of a bunch of non-alcoholic wine and cocktails. Non-alcoholic canned cocktails are kind of the shit because you don't have any of the problems you have with like a beer. right? Where they're
Right.
not going to really taste the same, but that's fine. You can sort of get around that. But
Yeah,
that had
these can
this
just taste good.
right. They can still taste
And
good,
you
and
could
it's
add
like,
some you could add some
and you.
sharpness with some other ways.
So there's one called Improv, which is the dumbest fucking name, but the drink is good, and it's basically like juice. And then they even say it's a tropical Mai Tai because I had to try that. And they basically say like you can also add booze if you want to, but if not, it's just like a non-alcoholic cocktail, and it tastes fucking great.
Right. And a
Well,
lot of them will load up with like B vitamins and stuff. And they're actually
yes,
healthful and like,
right.
antioxidants and whatnot. And it's,
Well,
way better than
there's
drinking
this one
for
here. I
your
need to look
body.
it up. There's
Yeah.
this one. I think the brand is called like AF, and which whatever. And it's a non-alcoholic wine. Here, let me see. There we go. And they have it in canned. It's a rosé is the one I got because I like rosé a lot. Rosé is fucking delicious. And they have this stuff in there called Afterglow, which is it's like herbs and stuff supposed
Yeah.
to give you that warming sensation of alcohol. I don't know that it does that, but it's the best. It is the best non-alcoholic wine, which I haven't had a lot of, but it's the best non-alcoholic wine I've ever had.
I'll have to
It
look
tastes
for that.
great.
Yeah. Most
And
of
what-
them are terrible.
Most of them are terrible. But this is actually really very good. And they have like a lot of, they have Paloma and they have an Aperol
Yeah.
Spritz and they have a whole bunch of shit, right? But the free AF is what it's called. I really don't like. But the rosé is really good, man. And so what I did is we had some tart cherry juice. Or no, Taryn had some kombucha.
Ah.
And so what I did is I just splashed a little bit in the glass of this rosé, and it changed everything because and then I realized the problem with this non-alcoholic rosé is that it's missing that tartness, it's missing that
oomph.
bite
Yeah.
that you get with a rosé, that crispness, and so you fucking add anyway. Doing a lot of that. So if you are trying to be non-alcoholic for a little bit, like there's definitely tricks you got to do
Right.
to make yourself
yeah.
feel that way.
And frankly, like a lower pH is going to improve, like especially for a non-alcoholic beverage. You need to have a lower pH for food safety. Like anything over 5, you're going to run into issues with the FDA and maybe making people sick because you need to have that under 5 pH. Yeah, I guess if you're full pasteurizing, it's not as big of a deal. But if you're not, it's really got to be under 5. And really, you kill 2 birds with 1 stone that way. Is you get the acidity down, so you make it more food safe, and then you also kind of emulate, especially with wine, that bite that you want.
Yeah.
And white wine in particular, you get that acidic bite that tells your brain that you're drinking alcohol when you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually bought some non-alcoholic bourbon over the holidays and
Interesting.
It's called Free Spirits and we made some non-alcoholic old fashions. You just buy non-alcoholic old fashioned mixer and there are some that have alcohol, others that don't, just read the label and mix them and it had a bite to it. It was an enjoyable beverage to taste for sure. And the bottle was actually not cheap, and it looks like it's a substantial, thick bottle. You can, find it at Bevmo or Total Wine or whatever. And but yeah, it was interesting to taste something like that. It's like, okay, what did they do here to make it? It's like, okay, I can see what they're going for. It's got, some wood-like flavor and some like kind of a spiciness that emulates a little bit of alcohol.
I tell you,
Herbal kind of.
I've had some of those gin one. Like I've had 2 non-alcoholic gins. And they do not taste good.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious to go the other way because I think that there's, with a lot of gin, I'm guessing it sort of overload the botanicals to kind of cover for anything or make it, we got to really, or maybe the distillation process or the removal of the alcohol sort of concentrates those the way you're not really supposed to cook with IPA kind of thing. So I'd be interested to try something else. So like in that rosé, they have this, it's a trademark thing called Afterglow. And they say it's a 100% natural botanical extract sourced from New Zealand that mimics the pleasant warmth of alcohol. Interesting. I don't know. These little tricks, man. Okay. If you want to be on the show, everybody, and get us off the topic of non-alcoholic beers for some reason, why would you want to? I don't know. You can email Brian at thebrewingnetwork.com. That's with 4 Y's bracketed on either side. Yeah. No, really, it's not at all. But Brian at thebrewingnetwork.com.
With an I.
Brian with an I. And we'll get you in here. We'll get you on the show. We'll love on you. We'll squeeze you. We'll hug you. And maybe more. I don't know. It depends if
Drink your beer.
Depends if you're local. Yeah.
It's that on the spot feedback that you can't get anywhere else. I mean,
right.
what other podcast where we'll actually drink your beer and talk to you about it? And
It's the
we
only
care
one.
about listening to your recipe and helping you improve your beer.
That's right. The only
We
one.
give the love, it's
Cooper,
really
you got any shows going on, dude? People in the Bay Area can go watch you play the guitar?
yeah.
Do a little plug, man. Let's do some plugs real fast.
We're playing at McKay's Beer Garden in Pleasanton on the 24th of February in the evening. So, and then also playing at Bottle Taps on February 10th with the trio Bottle Taps in Pleasanton, which has an awesome selection of beer, mead, and cider, and also some NA if you like.
Do they
Or
really? See,
craft-
this is what I
craft.
this is what I
sodas.
think. Every fucking bar worth their salt should have at least one non-alcoholic version. They should just get NA Heineken, make it super simple, or you can go Athletic Brewing, which is my favorite craft one. Put it on, put it in can, charge whatever the fuck you want, but have that option. Please have that option for people.
It's nice to have. And sometimes you're just like, okay, I'm not drinking this week. I still want to go to my ale house. So they have a selection of
Absolutely
stuff. I'll have one of those this time. That's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Char, what about you? Where's your band performing?
My band is performing at my house. No, I wish I was talented enough to have even a hint of a band. If you have patent or trademark needs, check me out at www.crosspondlaw.com. Be happy to help you out. We've actually been doing a lot of foreign origin trademark in the last couple of months, which has been pretty cool. I have like 3 clients in Switzerland.
Nice.
Just it's weird. Maybe because my last name is Swiss, and like I'm like most people of immigrant descent for any period of time. I'm sure I'm a mix of like 15 different whatever.
Yeah, dude.
But like my dad's family and like my last name is like it's Swiss. And there's actually, this is hilarious. There is if you go to like Char.com, it's some gluten-free food company, Dr. Char. It's fucking hilarious. It's like, what the fuck is this stuff? But maybe it makes them feel like I'm one of them because they like they go to the grocery store and there's all these racks of Dr. Char gluten-free whatever. So hey, whatever, it keeps people coming in the door, and that's a good thing.
I tell you, I'm very much a fan of, if your name sounds Greek, I'm already a fan of yours. Already. I speak none of Greek, walk into the Greek restaurant and go, yes, us, and then that's about it. And they go, oh, you speak Greek? No, I just know, like, what's up? And then cheers. And I can count the 5. Like, that's it. But
I'm like a Sharioglavu. Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I know of a Char, there's a Char who plays for Newcastle United, and so I see that.
Really?
Go, oh, it's Brian Char.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. I have to check that guy out.
Yeah, no, don't. He's
probably like a 12th cousin or some shit.
Yeah, dude, that would be sick. Everybody, we're going to get out of here. Thank you very much for listening to this throwaway episode of Dr. Homebrew. I hope you got some information out of it. It was not beer judging, but
it's a good episode.
Man, we had some good beers. Yeah, I'm all right with that. I'm going to finish these Baeren beers. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Send us a few good beers.
Cool. Perfect.
All right.
That for a show that we didn't have like contestants, it was a good show.
It's fine. Look at that. It's 9:49 too. Look at us. I knew we could do it. I knew we could finish before 10 o'clock, boys.
Why would anybody listen to that?
We have had worse shows than that, and you know it, Brian. So shut up. You watch your mouth. We've had much worse shows than that.
We got slightly sober from that NA. That was fine.
Yeah.
I didn't want to drink too much of it.
Neither did I. Most of them are cardboardy. I don't like it. But this one, it's like, okay. And then, to be honest, if I can be completely honest with you, I bought a 6-pack of it and I had one and I'm like, what am I going to do with these other Oh, hell yeah, dude. I'm going to give it to
I
each
do a
other.
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. So I still have two in my fridge, and maybe you'll see them later. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Maybe your kid wants to try NA.
my kid, no, she doesn't.
Mm.
Beer. Oh, I can't have beer until I'm 21. You're right.
Yeah.
Can't. We'll see how
It's
long.
funny.
that
My
lasts.
my daughter she's almost 17, and like said, well, you could try a little beer if it's yeah. No, not interested. I don't want to drink.
Yeah.
Okay. In the long run, probably for the best. But she can do what she
Oh,
wants to
definitely
do
for the best.
when she's
Absolutely.
older. She can do what she wants to do. It's
Yeah. No,
her choice.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Don't drink until you're 25. Your brain is still fucking forming. That will mess you up. But put some Fireball in front of her.
God,
She'll take it.
I like to think I've taught my daughter to have at least a little bit of taste.
Fireball is the Budweiser of liquors.
Exactly.
Is what it is, man.
Exactly.
All right, bye guys. That's it.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Cooper's like, what the fuck are these guys talking about? I want to get out of here.